The title National Service Training Program or the Nstp Act of 2001 is a national service training program established by virtue of the Republic Act number 9163. It is a program aimed to enhancing civic consciousness and defense preparedness in the youth by developing the ethics of service and patriotism. Ulit ako kayo. Patriotism.
Sige na, ano lang, huwag mo na.
Sige lang. Okay. Patriotism while undergoing training in any of its three program components. Alright, so our title is the National Service Training Program or Nstp Act of 2001. The National Service Training Program or Nstp is established by virtue of the Republic Act number 9163. It is a program aimed to enhancing civic consciousness and defense. The title of our title is National Service Training Program or NSTP, Act of 2001. The National Training Service Program or NSTP, established by virtue of the Republic Act number 9163. It is a program aimed at enhancing civic consciousness and defense preparedness in the youth by developing the ethics of service and patriotism while undergoing training in any of its three program components, especially designed to enhance the youth's active contribution to the general welfare of the Filipinos. The three components are, first, civic welfare training service, which refers to the activities contributory to the general welfare and betterment of life for the community. The courses that can be included for this training service, such as development communication, community development, BS nursing, and so on. While the literacy training service or LTS, which is designed to train the students to teach literacy and numeric skills to students. The courses that can be applied this literary training service are teachers and other social studies that can apply the teaching, which are the literacy and numeracy skills. And the last one is Reserve Officers Training Corps or the ROTC, which is designed to provide military training to tertiary level students. This training service can be applied only for such as marine technology, marine engineering, or the criminology students.
Sige na.
Sabihin lang.
Maliin nga ang sulat.
Akin na, wait, sabihin mo lang yun, hanggang reserve.
Sige.
So the NSTP required to acquire to those freshmen for them to be able to know and discipline them in terms of this kind of training services. Upon the completion of NSTP, you are now able to graduate with your bachelor's degree.
Uy! Paano man yan? Makat niya. Inaagad. Wala. Hindi sila.
Good morning, everyone. I am Jelinea Tilano. I am your reporter for the topic of Volunteerism Republic Act 9418, Volunteer Act of 2007. An act institutionalizing a strategy for rural development, strengthening volunteerism and other purpose. Sector 2. Declaration of Policy. It shall be the policy of the state to promote the participation of various sectors of the Filipino society and as necessary international and foreign volunteer organization. Meaning, it's not only the participation of the Filipino, but also the participation of different sectors like international and foreign volunteers, whether in public and civic affairs. Their desire is to obtain nature development. When we say nature development, refers to the improvement of our country, including the economic, social, and cultural. Are you familiar of bayanihan? Bayanihan is one of the traditions of the Philippines. Bayanihan happens when people unite to help individuals and communities in need without expecting anything in return. Bayanihan promotes fairness, unity, and sustained development. And now, let's move on to the third sector. The third sector is statement of goals and objectives. The first objectives or the goals to provide a policy framework on volunteers. When we say to provide a policy framework on volunteerism means to provide a set of rules and ideas to volunteerism to underscore the fundamental principle necessary to control and match the broad and the different efforts of the voluntary sector in the country to have an effective partnership in local and national and as well as international cooperation and understanding. The second one is to provide a conclusive and enabling environment. So this one implies us that they set a rules to protect the rights of the volunteers and give appreciation to their performances and efforts to our society. The third one is to provide an effective institutional mechanism to strengthen the role of PNVSCA. So the third one is to provide an accurate institutional mechanism to support the role of Philippine National Volunteer Service Coordinating Agency or the PNVSCA to perform its instructions and to supervise the implementation of this act. Okay, let's move on to the Sector 4. The Sector 4 is the definition of terms. Earlier, I mentioned the word volunteerism, volunteer service organization, and volunteer sectors. And now, we will know their meaning. The first one is the volunteerism. When we say volunteerism, an act involving a wide range of activities. When we say volunteerism, is the act of contributing free labor to conduct community service or support a non-profit organization. Volunteerism is an act involving extensive activities, particularly in traditional forms of mutual aid and developmental intervention to provide empower environment. The second one is volunteer. What is a volunteer? Volunteer, an individual or group who for reasons arising for their social or socio-developmental, business, and corporate orientation. When we say volunteer, volunteer a person who freely offers to take part in an enterprise or undertake a task. The third one is volunteer service organization, refers to a local or foreign group that recruits, trains, deploys, and support volunteer workers. When we say volunteer service organization, it is an organization, whether local or foreign group, who will train and support the volunteer workers. I will give you an example of volunteer service organization. Amnesty International Philippines. Amnesty International Philippines is one of the example of volunteer service organization. Amnesty International Philippines, it is a worldwide movement of people who campaign for internationally recognize human rights and protection of everyone. The last one is voluntary sectors. When we say voluntary sectors, refers to those sectors of Philippine society that organize themselves to take advocacy and actions. When we say voluntary sector, it is an organization whose primary purpose is to create a social impact rather than profit. In addition, the voluntary sector promotes and advocates for wider long-term social or systematic change on behalf of marginalized communities. I will give you an example of voluntary sectors. For example, the charities and the religion and faith-based organization. That's the example of voluntary sectors. And now, the last is the sector 7, role of the government. What's the role of the government? Here, the government will coordinate and encourage the participation of the voluntary sectors. The voluntary sectors will promote, utilize, and recognize the volunteerism in national development and international. So we will move on to the lesson 2. The lesson 2 is citizenship training, Bill of Rights, duties, and responsibilities of Filipino citizen. When we say citizenship program, is a program where it develops our characters to become mindful of our responsibilities, rights, and roles in the society. There are different benefits of citizenship program. First is the ROTC and the CAT. ROTC, Reserve Officer Training Corps, while the CAT is Citizen Army Training. Here in ROTC and CAT, the participants here is the high school and college students who receive training. Aside that they will get financial support for their education, it improves their personal traits like self-discipline, confidence, and leadership throughout the training. The second one is community services and voluntary work, where you uphold your duty as citizen in a community. You will help in your community without expecting anything in return. Like for example, here is the outreach program and the cleaning in the street. That's the example of community services and voluntary work. The third one is knowing your country. Knowing your country, you need to learn your law. You need to know the history of your country, and you need to learn the flag and your patriotic music. Since we are Filipino, our patriotic music is the national anthem, which is the Lupang Hinirang. The fourth one benefit of citizenship program is the commitment to personal responsibilities for the welfare for ourselves and others. So the NSTP, the purpose of NSTP, what is NSTP? NSTP is the National Service Training Program. So the purpose of NSTP here is to transform as individuals to have a good citizenship values, and here we become responsible for our action.
Now let's talk about the 1987 Constitution of the Philippines. This Constitution provides for the three government powers, namely the executive, legislative, and the judicial branches. Its final draft was completed by the Constitutional Commission on October 12 in 1986. It was signed and made official by a nationwide vote on February 2 in 1987. The supreme law of the Republic of Philippines, often called the Freedom Constitution. What is the Freedom of Constitution? It was intended as a transitional basic law to ensure democracy, freedom of the people, and an orderly transfer of power, as the Constitutional Commission was drafting a permanent charter. We have the preamble of the 1987 Philippine Constitution. The Philippine Constitution, there have been a total of 6 Philippine Constitution. One is the Malolos Constitution in 1897 to 1901, which stated that we, the representative of the Filipino people, legally convene to establish justice, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and ensure the blessing of liberty, imploring the aid of the sovereign lawgiver of the universe in order to obtain these objectives, have voted, decreed, and approved the following. This constitution is the first Philippines Constitution, first Republican Constitution in Asia. Philippine Constitution, since June 12 in 1898, the proclamation of independence, there have been a 6 total Philippines Constitution, which is the one is Malolos Constitution in 1897-1901. It is stated this is the first constitution, first Republican Constitution in Asia. In the Malolos Constitution, it stated that we, the representative of the Filipino people, legally convene to establish justice, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and ensure the blessing of liberty, imploring the aid of the sovereign lawgiver of the universe in order to obtain these objectives, have voted, decreed, and approved the following. And the second one is the Philippine Organic Act of 1902 and the Philippine Autonomy Act of 1916 in 1902 to 1935. It stated that the Philippine Organic Act of 1902 provided a Philippine Assembly composed of Filipino citizens, while the Philippine Autonomy Act of 1916 included the first pledge of the Philippine independence. Third, we have the Commonwealth and Third Republic 1935 Constitution in year 1935 to 1943 and 1945 to 1972. It stated that the United States Congress in 1934 passed the Philippine Independence Act that paved the way the creation of the Constitution for the Philippines. Through 1934 Constitutional Convention, a draft of the Constitutional for the Philippines was produced. It was ratified through a nationwide plebiscite on May 14 in 1935. On November 15 in 1935, with the inauguration of the Commonwealth of the Philippines, the Constitution was fully implemented and enforced. Part of its provision stated that said Constitution will remain in effect once independence was declared on July 4, 1946. In 1940, the National Assembly of the Philippines once amended the Constitution from having a unicameral assembly to a bicameral Congress and changing the term limit of the President from 6 years with a re-election for 4 years with possibility. We have now for the Japanese-sponsored Republic, Second Republic, 1943 Constitution in the year 1943 to 1945. It stated that the Japanese-sponsored government nullified the Constitution during World War II. The government created a preparatory committee on the Philippine independence to replace the Constitution. The new Constitution was used by the administration under President Jose P. Laurel. The Martial Law Constitution 1973 Constitution in year 1973 to 1986 stated that during the regime of President Ferdinand Marcos, a constitutional convention was formed to amend the 1935 Constitution. Through the Presidential Decree number 87 series 1972, the creation of a citizen assembly to ratify a drafted constitution by means sofa viva voce in a place of secret below. President Marcos announced the ratification and its effectivity on January 17 in 1973. Although there was several opposition to ratification, the 1973 Constitution was deemed valid, was enforced. Freedom Constitution 1987 Constitution in year 1987 at present. It stated that after martial law and democracy was restored, President Corazon Aquino issued that suspension of several providers in 1973 Constitution and promulgated a transitory Constitution through Proclamation number 3. The Constitutional Commission was created by Proclamation 99 Series 1986 and was tasked to write a new chapter or charter to replace the previous Constitution. The national plebiscite for the new Constitution held on February 2 in 1987. Then on February 11 in 1987, by virtue of Proclamation number 58, the new Constitution was ratified. Okay, now let's give you the definition of what is really the preamble. The preamble came from the Latin word preambulus, meaning to walk before. It serves as an introduction to give a reader an idea of what effect of the Constitution.
Article 3 of the Philippines Constitution, Bill of Rights, a concept. First, what this article talks about. It is a declaration and enumeration of a person's rights and privileges which the Constitution is designed to protect against violation by the government or by individuals or groups of individuals. It is a charter of liberties for the individual and limitation upon the power of the state, meaning this article establishes the relationship of the individual to the state to define the rights of every individual by limiting the lawful powers of the state. This article consists of three classes of rights. The first one is natural rights. Natural rights, those possessed by every citizen without being granted by the state, for they are given to man by God as a human being created to his image that he may live a happy life, which means those that are dependent on the laws, customs, or beliefs of any particular culture or government. The second one is Constitution's right. Constitution's right is conferred and protected by the Constitution, which means the rights granted to individuals is by virtue of their citizenship or residence in a particular country. The third one is statutory rights. Statutory rights provided by law, promulgated by the lawmaking body, and consequently may be abolished by the same body, which means an individual legal rights is given to him or her by the local and national ruling government. Also, it consists of four classifications of constitutional rights. Let's start with political rights. Political rights, the power to participate directly or indirectly in the establishment or administration of the government. The right that involves participation of the establishment or administration, government, and usually held to entitle the adult citizen to exercise of the franchise, the holding of the public office, and other political activities. The second one is civil right. Civil rights, a law that secures private individuals the secure enjoyment of their means of happiness, which means it guarantees of equal social opportunities and protection under the law, regardless of who we are and what we are. The third one is social and economic rights. Social economic rights intended to ensure the well-being and economic security of an individual. This refers the rights to adequate foods, adequate housing, to education, to health, and so on. The last one is right of the accused. Right of the accused intended for the protection of a person accused of any crime, which means, in law, the rights and privilege of a person accused of a crime, guaranteeing him a free trial and the rights to be heard. State authority and individual freedom. State an instrument to promote both individual and social welfare. The conflict between individual rights and group welfare. Balancing of individuals and group rights and interests. The last one is role of the judiciary.
Section 1. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall any person be denied the equal protection of the laws. Meaning of due process of laws: any deprivation of life, liberty, or property by the state is with due process if it is done under the authority of the law that is valid or the Constitution itself, and after compliance with fair and reasonable methods of procedure required by law. Section 2. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures of whatever nature and whatever purpose shall be inviolable, and no search warrant or warrant of arrest shall issue except upon probable cause to be determined personally by the judge after examination under oath or affirmation of the complainant and the witness he may produce, and particularly describing the place to be searched and persons or things to be seized. When we say search warrant, an order in writing issued in the name of the people of the Philippines, signed by a judge, and directed to a peace officer, commanding him to search for a certain personal property and bring it before the court. Whereas, warrant of arrest, a written order to arrest a person designated to take him in custody in order that he may be bound to answer for the commission of an offense. Section 3. The privacy of communication and correspondence shall be inviolable except upon lawful order of the court, or when public safety or order requires otherwise as prescribed by the law. Any evidence obtained in violation of this or the preceding section shall be inadmissible for any purpose in any proceeding. The basic purpose of this right is right existing in the state of nature and right designed to secure enjoyment of one's private life. Section 4. No law shall be passed abridging the freedom of speech, of expression, or the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and petition the government for a redress of grievances, which means the right to freely utter and publish whatever one pleases without previous restraint, and to be protected against any responsibility for so doing as long as it does not violate the law or injure someone's character, reputation, or business. Section 5. No law shall be made respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The free exercise and enjoyment of religious profession and worship without discrimination or preference shall forever be allowed. No religious test shall be required for the exercise of civil or political rights, which means the right of a man to worship God and to entertain such religious views as an appeal to his consent without dictations or interference. Section 5. No law shall be made respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The free exercise and enjoyment of religious profession and worship without discrimination or preference shall forever be allowed. No religious test shall be required for the exercise of civil or political rights, which means the right of a man to worship God and to entertain such religious views as an appeal to his consent without dictations or interference by any person or power, civil or ecclesiastical. Section 6. The liberty of abode and of changing the same time within the limit prescribed by law shall not be impaired except upon lawful order of the court. Neither shall the right to travel be impaired in the interest of national security, public safety, or public health as may be provided by law. Which means it is the right of a person to have his home in whatever place chosen by him and thereafter to change it at will, and go where he pleases without the interference of any source. Section 7. The right of the people to information on matters of public concern shall be recognized. Access to official records and documents and papers pertaining to official acts, transactions, or decisions, as well as to government research data use as the basis for policy development shall be afforded the citizens subject to limitation as may be provided by law. Section 8. The right of the people, including those employed in the public and private sectors, to form unions, associations, or societies for purposes not contrary to law shall not be abridged, which represent the freedom to organize or to be a member of any group or association, union, or society, and to adopt the rules which the members judge most appropriate to achieve their purpose. Section 9. Private property shall not be taken for public use without just compensation. No law the obligation of contracts shall be passed. Meaning of obligation of a contract is the law or duty which binds the parties to perform their agreement according to its term or intent if it is not contract to law, morals, good customs, public order, or public policy. The purpose of this prohibition is intended to protect creditors, to assure the full payment of law promises, and to guard the integrity of contractual obligations. Section 11. Free access to the courts and quasi-judicial bodies and adequate legal assistance shall not be denied to any person because of poverty, regardless of who we are or what we are. Section 12. Any person under investigation for the commission of an offense shall have the right to be informed of his right to remain silent and to have competent and independent counsel, preferably of his own choice. If the person cannot afford the services of counsel, he must be provided with one. These rights cannot be waived except in writing and the presence of the counsel. No torture, force, violence, threat, intimidation, or any other means which vitiate the free will shall be used against him. Secret detention places, solitary, incommunicado, or other similar forms of detention are prohibited. Any confession or admission obtained in violation of this or Section 17 hereof shall be inadmissible in evidence against him. The law shall provide for penal and civil sanctions for violation of this section as well as compensation through the rehabilitation of victims of torture or similar practices and their families. Section 13. All persons except those charged with offenses punishable by reclusion perpetua when evidence of guilt is strong shall before conviction be bailable by sufficient sureties or be released on recognizance as may be provided by law. The right to bail shall not be impaired even when the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus is suspended. Excessive bail shall not be required. The purpose of requiring bail is to relieve the accused from imprisonment until his conviction and yet secure his appearance at the trials. It may be in form of a cash deposit, property bond secured from a surely. Free access to the courts and quasi-judicial bodies and adequate legal assistance shall not be denied to any person because of poverty, regardless of who we are or what we are. Section 12. Any person under investigation for the commission of an offense shall have the right to be informed of his right to remain silent and to have competent and independent counsel, preferably of his own choice. If the person cannot afford the services of counsel, he must be provided with one. These rights cannot be waived except in writing and the presence of the counsel. No torture, force, violence, threat, intimidation, or any other means which vitiate the free will shall be used against him. Secret detention places, solitary, incommunicado, or other similar forms of detention are prohibited. Any confession or admission obtained in violation of this or Section 17 hereof shall be inadmissible in evidence against him. The law shall provide for penal and civil sanctions for violation of this section as well as compensation through the rehabilitation of victims of torture or similar practices and their families. Section 13. All persons except those charged with offenses punishable by reclusion perpetua, when evidence of guilt is strong, shall before conviction be bailable by sufficient sureties or be released on recognizance as may be provided by law. The right to bail shall not be impaired even when the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus is suspended. Excessive bail shall not be required. The purpose of requiring bail is to relieve the accused from imprisonment until his conviction and yet secure his appearance at the trials. It may be in form of a cash deposit, property bond secured from a surety company, or recognizance. Section 14. The right to be heard by himself and counsel, to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusations against him, to have a speedy, impartial, and public trial. Section 15. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended except in case of invasion or rebellion when public safety requires it. The writ of habeas corpus is an order issued by a court of competent of jurisdiction directed to the person detaining another, commanding him to produce the body of the prisoner at the designated time and place and to show sufficient cause for holding one custody the individual so detained. It has for its purpose to inquire into all manner of involuntary restraint or detention as distinguished from voluntary, and to relieve a person therefrom if such restraint is found illegal. The writ is the proper remedy court to release in each and every case of detention without legal cause or authority. Its principal purpose then is to set the individual liberty. Section 16. All persons shall have the rights to a speedy disposition of their cases before all judicial, quasi-judicial, or administrative bodies. The right to a speedy disposition of cases can be invoked only after the termination of the trial or hearing of the case. Section 17. No person shall be compelled to be a witness against himself. This is a protection against self-incrimination which may expose a person to a criminal liability. Section 18. No person shall be detained solely because of his political beliefs and aspirations. No involuntary servitude in any form shall exist except as a punishment for a crime whereof the parties shall have been duly convicted. No matter what political beliefs and aspirations we have, let's respect each other's perspective. Section 19. Excessive fines shall not be imposed, nor cruel, degrading, or inhuman punishment inflicted. Neither shall the death penalty be imposed unless for compelling reasons involving heinous crimes the Congress hereafter provides for it. Any death penalty already imposed shall be reduced to reclusion perpetua. The employment of physical, psychological, or degrading punishments against any prisoner or detainee, or the use of substandard or inadequate penal facilities under subhuman conditions shall be dealt with by the law. Section 20. No person shall be imprisoned for debt or non-payment of a poll tax. Section 21. No person shall be twice put in jeopardy of punishment for the same offense. If an act is punished by a law and an ordinance, conviction or acquittal under either shall constitute a bar to another prosecution for the same act. Means that when a person is charged with an offense and the case is terminated either by acquittal or conviction or in any other manner without the express consent of the accused, the latter cannot again be charged with the same or identical offense. Section 22. A bill of attainder is a legislative act which declares individuals guilt of a crime and inflicts punishment on individuals often without a trial. An ex post facto law is a law that acts retroactively or after the fact to criminalize an act that was legal at the time it was committed. After reviewing these 22 sections, it simply discussed that Section 1 to 11 it focuses on the rights of the people, whereas Section 12 to 22 it focuses on the right of the accused, an implication of historical array during martial law 1987.
Hi, sir. I am Liza. So, I am assigned to report the United Nations Principles of Human Rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, is a milestone document in the history of human rights. Drafted by representatives with different legal and cultural backgrounds from all regions of the world. The declaration was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in Paris on 10 December 1948. General Assembly Resolution 2178 as a common standard of achievement for all people and all nations. So now, therefore, the General Assembly proclaims this Universal Declaration of Human Rights as a common standard of achievement for all peoples and all nations, to the end that every individual and every organ of society, keeping this declaration constantly in mind, shall strive by teaching and education to promote respect for these rights and freedoms and by progressive measures, national and international, to secure their universal and effective recognition and observance both among the peoples of member states themselves and among the peoples of territories under their jurisdiction. Article number 1. All humans are born free and equal in dignity and rights, and they should treat each other with a sense of brotherhood. This article emphasizes the fundamental equality of all individuals and the importance of treating one another with respect and solidarity. Article number 2. Everyone is entitled to rights and freedoms without discrimination based on factors like race, color, sex, language, religion, etc. This article prohibits discrimination and ensures that all individuals have equal access to their human rights and freedoms. Article number 3. The right to life, liberty, and security of person is protected. This article safeguards an individual's inherent right to life, freedom, and personal safety. Article 4. Slavery and the slave trade are prohibited in all forms. This article unequivocally bans slavery and the slave trade in any manifestation. Article number 5. No one should be subjected to torture or cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment. This article prohibits the use of torture or any forms of cruel, of degrading treatment under any circumstances. Article 6. Everyone has the right to be recognized as a person before the law. This article ensures that every individual is treated as a legal person with rights and responsibilities. Article 7. All are equal before the law and should be protected against discrimination. This article guarantees equal protection under the law and prohibits discrimination in all aspects of life. Article number 8. Everyone has the right to an effective remedy for rights violations. This article ensures that individuals have access to legal recourse when their rights are violated. Article number 9. Arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile is prohibited. This article prohibits unjust and arbitrary arrest, detention, or forced exile. Article number 10. Everyone has the right to a fair and public hearing by an independent tribunal. This article guarantees the right to fair trial and public hearing by an impartial court. Article number 11. Everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a fair trial. This article emphasizes the presumption of innocence and the right to a fair trial. Article number 12. Protection against arbitrary interference with privacy, family, home, and correspondence is guaranteed. This article safeguards an individual's right to privacy and the inviolability of their home and correspondence. Article number 13. Everyone has the right to freedom of movement and the right to live and return to their country. This article protects the right to move freely within one's country and the right to live and return to it. Article number 14. The right to seek asylum from persecution is protected. This article grants the right to seek asylum from persecution, excluding cases of non-political crimes. Article 15. Everyone has the right to a nationality and not to be arbitrarily deprived of it. This article ensures the right to citizenship and prohibits arbitrary loss of nationality. Article 16. Men and women have the right to marry and found a family with free and full consent. This article upholds the right to marriage and family formation based on mutual consent. Article 17. Everyone has the right to own property without arbitrary deprivation. This article safeguards the rights to property, including protection against unjust property confiscation. Article number 18. The right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion is upheld. This article guarantees the freedom to hold and practice one's beliefs. Article number 19. The right to freedom of opinion and expression is protected. This article ensures freedom of speech and expression. Article number 20. The right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association is guaranteed. This article allows for peaceful gatherings and the formation of associations. Article 17. Everyone has the right to own property without arbitrary deprivation. This article safeguards the rights to. Article 21. Everyone has the right to participate in government and equal access to public service. This article promotes participation in governance and access to public service. Article number 22. The right to social security and economic, social, and cultural rights are ensured. This article emphasizes the right to social security and access to essential economic, social, and cultural rights. Article number 23. The rights to work, equal paid, and trade union rights are protected. This article guarantees the right to work, fair wages, and the freedom to join trade unions. Article 24. Everyone has the right to rest, leisure, and reasonable working hours. This article promotes a work-life balance and reasonable working hours. Article 25. The right to an adequate standard of living, including food, clothing, housing, and medical care is guaranteed. This article ensures access to basic necessities and health care. Article 26. The right to education is provided. with a focus on promoting understanding, tolerance, and friendship. This article emphasizes the right to education and its role in fostering understanding and tolerance. Article 27. The right to participate in cultural life and benefit from scientific advancement is upheld. This article promotes cultural participation and access to the benefits of scientific progress. Article 28. Everyone is entitled to a social and international order where human rights are fully realized. This article envisions a world where human rights are universally respected and protected. Article 29. Everyone has duty to the community and rights and freedoms should be exercised within age limits with line with the UN's principle. This article highlights the importance of balancing individual rights with responsibilities to the community and the role of the law. Article 30. The Declaration should not be interpreted as granting any right to engage in activities aimed at determining human rights and freedoms. This article clarifies that the Declaration does not condemn actions that undermine human rights and freedom.
A flag heraldic Code of the Philippines Republic Act 8491. We celebrate Independence Day on June 12 in from 122 years after General Trevally. The title Flag Heraldic Code of the Philippines Republic Act 8194. We celebrate Independence Day on June 12 in 122 years after General Emilio Aguinaldo declared Independence Day from Spain and waved the first Philippine flag at his residence in Kawit, Cavite. For the implementation of the Flag Heraldic Code of the Philippines, the Nstp should be guided with the following revisions, which are the Section 2 states that it is the state policy of the state to prescribe the code of the national flag, anti-motto, coat of arms, and so on. And the second is the Section 4, the Flag Heraldic Code of the Philippines, policy of the state to prescribe the code of the national anthem, and the last one is the Section 4, the last is the Section 4, the Flag Heraldic Code of the Philippines policy will promote or sustain reverence and respect for the flag, the anthem, and other national symbols, and those which symbolizes the national ideals and traditions. In Republic Act 8491, or the Flag and Heraldic Code of the Philippines mandates the reverence and respect shall be accorded at all times of the Philippine flag, the national anthem, and other national symbols to embody the country's ideals and traditions and express the principles of sovereignty and national solidarity. It penalizes violations. The code thus prescribes some rules of the Philippines as follows. The flag is flown from the flagpole, shall have its blue field on top in time of peace and red flag field on top in war. The following are prohibited with respect of the flag: to mutilate, defake, defile, trample on, cast attempt, or commit on the flag, and so on.
Moving forward, I am Mata Arafi to discuss you about the duties and responsibility of Filipino as citizens. Every Filipino must respect, honor, and give his accord to his Filipino heritage, patrimony, values, and traditions. Every Filipino must contribute to the development, welfare, and nations building of their country. Every Filipino must engage in gainful work to assure himself and his family a life worthy of a human dignity. Loyalty to the Federal Republic and national consciousness, aspirations, and ideals should be asked from every Filipino citizen. Every Filipino citizen is asked to uphold his constitutions, obey the laws of the land, pay taxes and duties, and cooperate with the duly constituted authorities in the attainment and preservation of a just and orderly society. Every Filipino citizen must give due to honor to the Philippine flag, national anthem, Philippines president, and other national symbols and emblems. Every Filipino citizen must defend the national authority from aggressive invaders, protect the sovereignty of his Filipino, and preserve the continuity of a just and human society and government. It is also the duty of Filipino to report to the proper authorities all plots of terrorism, plans of rebellions, subversions, or insurrections towards the duly and legally acknowledged government and other acts that will compromise the union and sovereignty of the Federal Republic. It is also the obligations of every Filipino to report corrupt, dishonest, and fraudulent government officials to the proper forum, courts, and agencies. A Filipino shall not tempt or bribe government officials, steal from the coffers of the government, or escape and abandon his lawful responsibilities. It is also responsibility of every Filipino to elect officials of governments as a means of demonstrating his ideas and aspirations for the motherland, or mission absenteeism from their responsibility may indicate a Filipino renunciation of his rights of suffrage. No further inappropriate or excessive penalty shall be asked from his as respiration of his choice not to vote. People who lost their social right of suffrage may reclaim such right in accordance with the law. Moving forward to our flag heraldry code of the Philippines, Republic Act 8491. We celebrate Independence Day on June 12, 122 years after Jan Emilio Aguinaldo declared independence from Spain and waved the first Philippines flag on his residence in Cavite. On this day, we celebrate our love and loyalty to our country. Our Constitution also declares and states policy to inculcate nationalism and patriotism in our youth. Here's some flag heraldry code of the Philippines that Nstp should be guided with the following provisions. We have sections 2. Section 2 states that it is the policy of the states and prescribe the code of the national flag. It is anthem, motto, coat of arms, and other heraldic items and device of the Philippines. It is ensure the promotion and implementation of its responding rules and regulation and adopt effective administrative, regulatory, coordinative, and supervisory program and activities where appropriate in conformity with national government's policy. We also have Section 4. The Flag Heraldry Code of the Philippines will promote or sustain reverence and respect for the flag, the anthem, and the other national symbols and other and those which symbolize the national ideals and traditions. Republic 8491, or the Flag Heraldic Code of the Philippines, mandates that reverence and respect should be accorded at all times to the Philippines flag, the national anthem, and the national symbols that embody the in-country's ideals and tradition and express the principle of sovereignty and national solidarity. It penalizes violators. The code that prescribes some laws on the Philippines flag as follows. The flag, if flown a flagpole, should have its blue field on the top in the time of peace and the red field on the top in the time of war. If in hanging position, the blue field should be to the right, left of the observer in the time of peace, and then the red field to the right, left of the observer in the time of war. A flag worn out through wear and tear shall not be thrown away. It shall be solemnly burned to avoid misuse or desecrations. The flag shall be replaced immediately when it begins to show sign of wear and tear. May 28 to June 12 of each year are declared as a flag days, during which all office and agency and instrumentalities of government, business establishments, and institutions of learning, including private homes, and are enjoined to display the flag. The following are prohibited with respect to the flag. First, we need to mutilate, deface, defile, trample on, cast contempt, or commit on the flag or any act of omissions that cause dishonor and ridicule upon the flag over its surface. Thus, it is illegal to burn the Philippines flag during release. Of course, the national anthem, the code especially prescribe that it is a renditions, whether played or sung, shall be in accordance with the musical arrangement and compositions of Julian Felipe. We understand that according to the National Historical Commission of the Philippines, the proper tempo is 2/4 and 100 metronomes, and that the anthem should be at last 53 seconds. When the national anthem is played at public gathering, whether by a band or singing or both under produced by any means, the attending public shall sing it with fervor. As a sign of respect, all persons should stand at attention and face the Philippines flag. If there is one displayed, if none, there shall face the band or conductors. On the first note, all persons shall execute a salute by placing their right palm over their left chest. Those in the military of scouting shall give the prescribed salute. The anthem shall not be played and sung for mere recreations, amusements, entertainment purposes, except on some occasions. Those are international competition.
Reciting the pledge, we show respect for our country. We recite the patriotic oath after the national anthem. This pledge was legalized under Executive Order Number 343. National Motto. The national motto, makadiyos, makatao, magkakalikasan at makabansa. In English, for God, people, nature, and country. National motto emphasizes the values that Filipinos have. The Code of Arms of the Philippines. In Filipino, Sagisag ng Pilipinas. It features the 8-rayed sun of the Philippines, with each ray representing the 8 provinces: Batangas, Bulacan, Cavite, Manila, Laguna, Nueva Ecija, Pampanga, and Tarlac, and the three five-pointed stars representing the three major island groups of Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. The Great Seal of the Philippines. In Filipino, Dagkilang Sagisag ng Pilipinas. It used to authenticate official documents of the government of the Philippines. In addition, the President of the Philippines is given the custody of the seal. Failure or refusal to adhere to the provisions of this act or any violations of the rule shall be penalized as stipulated in Republic Act 8491.